Hi guys, it's Katie with Katie Dickson Photography, and I'm going to do a walkthrough today of the new Snapseed 2.0 version. So I'm just going to open the app on my iPhone. Again, this is an iPhone 5S, so I'm still on some older technology. It is running iOS 8. This is a new version of Snapseed. They just released the update, I believe, last month. And I'm so glad that they did, because one of my huge complaints over the old version of Snapseed was the interface. I didn't think that it was contemporary or modern looking. It was clunky. It kind of sucked. So I'm really glad that they did this update. They've added some new features that I really like, and really brought some new life back into an app that I'd kind of stopped using. So I'm just going to open a photo. You can take a photo through the camera with this, but it's basically a photo editing app. Really, you'll be mostly opening photos that you've already taken to edit. It does give you a couple of options once you click the open photo button. You can either open from your iPhone, you can choose the camera to take a picture, you can open the last image that you took, or you can cancel the whole operation. So I'm just going to click open from device, and my photo roll is going to pop up and allow me to choose photos from my iPhone's photo roll to edit. And I'm just going to go to my camera roll, which is all of the last stuff that I did. I have some photos that I took the other day on a white background of some peonies from my garden. So I'm going to select one of these and we'll kind of play around with it. So I've selected the photo. I'm just going to click use up in the top right hand corner to select the photo for editing, and it will open it up in the app. So once you've opened up your photo, you will kind of get the general interface. If you click the open button in the top left corner, that will allow you to open up another image. The save is to change and or save any changes, that you've made. The little number next to that, where it's a 0 in a box, is actually a new feature added to Snapseed 2.0, where you can view your history of what you've applied to your image. Think of it as kind of like a layers palette, a really, really basic, super bare bones, but kind of layers situation. And then the three dots, if you tap on that with your finger, it opens up a kind of, I guess, like a menu. So you can then share the image, you can open it in a different app, and then you've got some settings and things for Snapseed itself. So I'm going to close that. And then when you want to start adding filters or do anything to the image, all you have to do is click on the little plus circle in the bottom, and then you get your options for editing. And I'm going to select the tune image option, which will open up your basic photo editing tools. So if you guys are not familiar with the old version of Snapseed and you click on the tune image icon and get to this screen, you're going to be like, well, wait, how do I make any adjustments? Snapseed actually uses swiping to do all of this. So as you see on the bottom, it says brightness with a 0 on top of it. So if I then take my finger on the screen and swipe right, it's going to brighten the image. And if I take my finger and swipe left, it's going to darken the image. So the way that you make adjustments is in Snapseed is by swiping. So I do want to brighten that a little bit, so I'm going to swipe right until it kind of looks good to me. And then to move on to different adjustments, you swipe up and down. So then if I swipe up, I then can choose from all of these different options to edit. So ambiance, I believe, it's kind of like your temperature and tint, so I can cool it or warm it, and I tend to like things a little bit on the cooler side, so I'm just going to drag that left. Then I'm going to swipe up to adjust my contrast. I'm going to add a little bit of contrast to this photo. I'm going to swipe up again for my saturation controls, and I just kind of want to see what that looks like if I mess with the saturation. So I think I do want a little bit of a saturation boost there. Swipe up for the next shadows, so I can either darken down the shadows by swiping left or brighten those shadows by swiping right. I think I actually kind of want to lift the shadows a little bit, so I'm going to keep it right about there. The highlights, Let's just see what happens if I swipe to the right to bring down some of those highlights. So I actually, because this peony is white on white, I am going to, I think, darken down those highlights just a little bit to get a little bit more of the detail back. And then we have our warmth, which will add kind of like that golden glow. I am not so into that, so I think I'm going to keep that at 0. Alright, so those are your kind of basic edits. I'm going to click on the little check in the bottom right hand corner to accept those and kind of go back. Now, as you've noticed, up here in the top bar, there's a little 1 inside of that box, and if I click on that, it's going to show me the edits that I've made. Now, the cool thing about this is that I can go back and adjust any of these at a later date. So I'm just going to close that, kind of come back to the main image, open up my tools panel, and I'm going to maybe select the, let's go into details. So again, if I swipe up and down, I can see what I've got available to me here. So I've got a structure and I've got a sharpening. Now structure is kind of like your clarity slider in Lightroom. And I actually think this image does need a little bit of structure, especially to bring out some of the details in those petals. So I am going to increase that. Click on the check mark to accept. And then I think next I might want to maybe play with this new, so in Snapseed 1, if you guys were a fan of Snapseed 1, the main selling feature of this whole thing was that you could selectively edit bits. Now this is still there, and it is under the selective tool. So if I click on that, it brings me here. The way that you use this is that you kind of highlight the little plus inside of a circle down here on the bottom, and then you can add that to where you want it. So then you, it basically places a little, almost like a button down on your image where you can selectively edit certain things. So if you hold it with your finger, it turns into this loop, so you can place that little button exactly where you might want to make your selective adjustments. I think that I want to make the blue in this little vase a little bit brighter. So I'm just going to make sure that that blue is kind of highlighted. And just like any other tool in Snapseed, you swipe up and down for different adjustments that you can use for that little button, and then you swipe left and right to increase or decrease. And it will, you see the little, I don't know, what is that? Like a, it's almost like a little fill of color that's going around the outside, showing you kind of the level of adjustment. And it's a subtle change, but it is making that blue a little bit more vibrant. I can increase the contrast or decrease the contrast of the little pattern on the jar, and I can also increase or decrease the brightness. So in the top right hand corner, we've got this little icon that will show you, if you tap and hold on it, you can see the before and after of what you've just done in that little tool. Again, it's a subtle change, so if you look underneath that button, you can kind of see it kind of flipping back and forth between the different changes that you've made. So I'm just going to check that, go back to the main screen, and as you can see, I'm now up to like a number 3 in this little box. So it's showing me all the different little things that I've done to this image. New in Snapseed 2, we also now have like a spot removal, a spot repair brush, and I did some trial on this, but not too many. I don't know if you can see this in this image, but right underneath the little vase, there is like a blue dot on the white seamless down there. The way this works is you basically like tap on whatever it is you want to erase, and it tries to like smart erase it. That is apparently a giant. Oh, I'm going to undo, click on the little undo, and if I want to zoom in, so I'm just pinching and zooming with my fingers, and I'm going to undo that because it thinks that I still want to do it. So I'm going to use my finger with this blue square to navigate. Now you see those little dots on the ground, right? So I'm going to click on that and make it go away. I'm going to move it over here because there's another dot right there, and click on that, make it go away. Is there anything else I need to heal? Oh, there's another dot. Click on that, make it go away. Yeah, so anytime you have something flat like this, where it's just a fairly flat surface and you don't have too much detail going on, you can click and make things go away. But anytime you get something crazy like this vase and you kind of click in, it's not going to do such a nice job of spot healing. But if you have something that's a nice kind of clean, even surface, it does actually a fairly decent job of cleaning up little spots. So I'm going to accept that and go back. And if I use my finger and tap and hold on the image, you can see the before and after of where we started versus where we ended up. Let's see, another new feature is this brush feature, where you can kind of selectively burn and dodge in different areas, or do the selective kind of color effects. So if I select this brush here, just tap on it, it gives me different options for what I want the brush to do. So I can have it control exposure, temperature, or saturation. Now, because you are using your finger to kind of like paint in, if you want to like move around the image, you do have to, and you can see as I pinch and zoom, it'll show you kind of the size of the brush at that zoom level. So if I want to remove this from this petal, if I have to zoom in to really kind of make that happen. But if I want to navigate and move around the image, I have to click inside, press and hold inside this blue box and this gray box. And then it will allow you to kind of move around the image because your finger is the tool. So you can't necessarily like put your finger in the image and kind of move it around to make it go. Does that make any sense? But I can double tap and kind of zoom out, and then I can see a before and after. So that's actually pretty interesting. I'm not going to save this change, so I'm going to X out of this tool, and it's going to take me back to the beginning. Next, I am going to, it does give you options for adding a vignette. You actually have transform controls in this one, which is mainly, I believe, for, you've got perspective, so horizontal and vertical things like for buildings. So if I've got it on this selection, again, you swipe left and right to make these changes. And then, oh, did you just see that? So if you're using perspective controls, it will fill in the little gaps that are made like that, like magic. So it'll do like a little content aware business to where it will fill in any gaps that it makes by stretching and moving stuff around. And on this background, it works, of course, flawlessly because it's a white background, which is awesome. But if you've got something a little bit more complicated, it might not work as well. So this is just a little before and after. It actually kind of makes my vase look a little bit taller, which is kind of cool. And I actually almost like the composition. It's a little bit more centered of a composition that way. So I'm actually going to save that change. So now that I've gotten that all done, I think I'm just going to do a quick crop because I will probably post this to Instagram. So you can do kind of like a free transform where you just kind of grab on these little edges and move things around to crop. Or you can choose a predetermined crop, so a square for Instagram or something like that. So I'm just going to select the square. So now here we've got my finished image. And if I click and hold, you can see the before to the after. Really did some nice little changes here. Alright, so now that I've got my final image, I'm going to just click on save up here at the top, and it is going to give you some options for saving your photos. You can save just the image. I believe it saves into Snapseed. You can save a copy so you've still got your original and the copy with the edits, or you can cancel. I am going to save a copy because I'm a big kind of non-destructive editor fan, so I like having the original, even though I probably will not do anything with it. And that has saved successfully. So then if I close out of my app here, go into my photos, I should have, down here at the bottom, my finished image from Snapseed. So there's the finished one that I just edited and the original. So there we go, a quick walkthrough of some of the things that you can do in Snapseed. Now, Snapseed is a really amazing, powerful tool, and I really, really am pleased with all of the changes that they made in the app. And I'm so glad that they updated the app because it was really needing some loving from Google. I don't think that they had updated or done anything with it since Google acquired the company, and I'm really glad that they did. I think that it's a great one to have in your arsenal as far as for photo editing and Instagram use and just kind of general purpose things. I love that they've added some of the new features like the perspective control and the spot healing and the kind of additional selective brush where you can paint in an effect rather than just having the pen that you can drop and select different things to edit. So I have been a big fan of the new Snapseed. I've been using it more where I hadn't really touched it in a long time. I recommend downloading this one. It is free on the App Store, and it's a great one if you just want to, if you're just getting into downloading and editing your iPhone images. And it's also a great one to add if you've got a lot of other apps that you use. I still think that this one is worth having and really recommend you downloading it. I will include the link and all that fun stuff below. Again, guys, thank you so much for checking in and watching this tutorial. I've really enjoyed having you guys around. If you haven't already, subscribe to the channel. I've got some more videos in the queue coming up. And I also have some other kind of big announcements and things coming up as well as far as kind of video and content production. So please subscribe and you'll be the first one to know when things come out. Thanks again, guys. Have a great day. See you next time.